Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is October 1st. Happy Uptober, everyone. It's not quite going as to plan so far, but today's episode is going to cover RPIP 62 and RPIP 63 going to vote. We're going to be talking about community discussions, about branding for Rocket Pool. We're going to talk about, on the Ethereum side, about Vitalik's new blog post and Eigen, their token being unlocked, BlackRock, and a whole lot of others. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so we're going to start here with this discussion that started on the 29th of September, and this was Langus popping into the ETH only validators thread and asking what the repercussions are if the tree generation for version 10 is late. So there's a whole lot to explain and unpack with this comment and this question, so let's start with that. So RPIP 62 is a vote to enable ETH only validators and also gives the community the option to remove the cliff for RPL rewards or to keep the cliff for RPL rewards. So the way that will work is if you want to start an ETH only validator after RPIP 62 is enforced, then those people will be getting their rewards through the rewards tree system, the same way the smoothing pool rewards are calculated at the moment. And what will happen is those people get that reward from there, right? And there's a new method of calculating those rewards that will need to be set up, and by setting up that new calculation method, then those people will be able to get rewards. So the idea is that the vote will pass potentially in 2 weeks' time. That means that we can implement ETH only validators right after the next vote period, the next snapshot period. So the next rewards period starts. Once that reward period starts, then we'll have 4 weeks for the next one to kick in. And with those 4 weeks, what Langus is asking here is, will we have the new calculation method ready in those 4 weeks? So Halulu here responds by saying, the 5% will be coming from the contract, and it's only the 5% that from the smoothing pool that won't be there. And Langus said this will be breaking a promise. I do think that timing is a good target, and I believe that by October 24th, we'll have a good handle on the version 10 delivery, but I would prefer us to make the call on October 24th, so have a go, no-go plan. So what is happening here is this kind of started a discussion, like right at the moment, about what we can and cannot promise users. So Halulu responded by saying the RPIP explicitly allows for 1 miss period, so we can deploy ETH only earlier. It says reward tree spec version 9 or reward tree version spec may be used for reward periods ending before the reward tree spec version 10 is available. This should affect no more than 1 reward submission after the vote for this proposal ends. So he says we wouldn't be breaking a promise unless we don't get there by December 19th. And then he corrects himself, saying it's the one after the vote, not the deployment. And Langus says even that isn't ideal, but I prefer version 10 basically done, and then we bootstrap the settings. That way there's no confusion, there's no chance of backlash. So then Patches, he's the person who's actually going to design the new rewards tree. He says, I'm inches away from finishing the test harness for version 8 and 9. I'm sanguine about version 10 not taking too long. My main concern is coinciding with the version 2 merge. So that's the smart node version 1 and the smart node version 2. He said I would be more confident if that was either done soon or postponed until after version 10. And then Halulu said, I think calling it on October 24th is fine. And this kind of started a whole discussion about how we should be getting feedback for the votes, and it actually became a little bit controversial. So I don't know how much to delve into it. Like you can follow the discussion threads, but Noshua was quite vocally critical about it, and he said the time to voice an opinion on this was a month ago when it first went to vote. And he said the RPIP has had a sentiment poll for 2 weeks and it's moved to finalized. And he says no one in the DAO is in a position to come in after all that and ask for substantial changes to RPIPs, and I don't think you should do that either. That doesn't mean that your opinion doesn't matter. It's just that you aren't overly privileged compared to everyone else. RPIP authors would be very interested in your input in the draft and review stages of the RPIP development. So that was a bit of a back and forth discussion that kind of was going on with Langus and Noshua. And yeah, that was and Langus then replied by saying, apologies, is seen as like late feedback. I can see how that would be extremely frustrating. We're in delivery mode now, and it occurred to me as I read the vote text, my opinions are to stay silent and have future issues, or raise it and see if we can work through a compromise. Ultimately, I think it's better for the protocol that I raise it, although I do respect the process. Being inflexible because of process is fast way to failure. He says, you're completely right. In general, I'm not overly privileged, but we are responsible for delivery and have a lot of skin in the game. We are a key stakeholder in the process. And then he goes on to say, there does seem to be several reasons why there should be flexibility in when the parameter changes are made, but I can see that this is complicated to have in the RPIPs. So that discussion was kind of going back and forth. And then there was more as well from Noshua, but you guys can read that yourselves. And then the vote texts were live. So let's actually go and have a look at the votes and see what we have here. So there are 2 votes that are currently live, and they went live around 30 hours ago, I want to say, maybe a little bit less than that, somewhere around that point. And one of them has already reached quorum. So this is the one for hotfix, so the Houston hotfix, which is RPIP 63. Right, and yeah, the RPIP 63 vote, the Houston hotfix, like I said, has reached quorum. So that's at 110% of vote. That's already reached. However, the RPIP 62 vote has not quite reached quorum yet. That is at 85.87. So let's have a look at the RPIP 62 vote first and see what it says. So it says, this proposal aims to improve RPL tokenomics in the short term to unlock protocol growth. This is outcome if either variant passes. The RPL requirement for the new mini pools will be removed. The commission for new mini pools contracts will be lowered to 5%. Mini pool commission structure will change. Dynamic commission. 8 ETH mini pools opted into the smoothing pool will receive bonus commission as part of their rewards claim. Nodes without an associated RPL stake will be entitled to 10% total commission. The total commission increased linearly with RPL stake going up to maximum 14% for positions worth at least 10% of borrowed ETH. And then the contract commission, the bonus commission, giving that information there as well. For the contract commission, it says it's fixed and acts as a lower bound for total commission. Therefore, existing mini pools with higher contract commissions will not be affected by this change. And then bonus commission will be removed, leaving only the 5% with the 5th reward snapshot after Saturn 1. So that is a timing factor for people to then move over after Saturn 1. Since the parameter changes will be implemented using a PDAO bootstrap mode, the Guardian will be instructed to invoke the function at the start of the rewards period immediately following the vote. And dynamic commission may not be rolled out at the same time as it requires the implementation of reward tree spec version 10. This is an outcome if variant A passes. And this says that RPL reward structure will remain the same. So if you have more than 10% RPL stake, you'll get rewards with issuance. Nodes with RPL stake of 10 to 15% will receive the maximum APY. Marginal RPL staking APY decreases beyond 15%. However, if outcome B passes, then the RPL reward structure will change. Nodes with RPL stake of any size will qualify for RPL issuance rewards. Nodes with RPL stakes of 0 to 15% of borrowed ETH receive the maximum APY, and then beyond that, they get a decreasing amount. And the rationale here is that the DAO, having voted for Saturn upgrade, the fundamental value of RPL will primarily be based on future megapool TVL. Short-term increases in TVL are beneficial for the protocol as long as they can be expected to convert to megapools. On the other hand, as competition emerges, an equivalent or higher yield is accessible without need to acquire protocol token. Short-term RPL utility is unlikely to continue to significantly support fundamental value. Therefore, node operation is made more attractive by allowing mini pool creation without RPL. Contract permission for those new ETH-only mini pools is kept less attractive than megapool validators under Saturn 1 to encourage migration once dynamic commission is disabled. In the interest of acting fast, this proposal minimizes smart contract changes. The suggested parameter changes can be enacted immediately after this vote passes and RPIP 63 is implemented. So there's context for those things. Now there's 3 votes. So do you vote for B, which is the ETH-only validators, and to remove this rewards cliff, or do you vote for A, which is ETH-only validators, but you keep the rewards cliff, or are you against both variants? And then here, actually, let me change this so you can see a little bit more clearly. Here, I've already voted, and I voted my first vote. This is ranked choice voting, so you get to vote, for all three of them. And my first choice is to vote in favor of ETH-only validators and to remove the rewards cliff. Second is for ETH-only validators with keeping the rewards cliff, and finally against both variants. So here you can see that people have been voting. So I voted in favor of it, Ramana voted against it, and Ramana's rationale for voting against it saying, I said on the forum, this should have been coordinated better with out-of-protocol solutions. Protest vote, I will reconsider if it's close. And then other people were mostly voting in favor of it because there's no abstain option. Nobody was able to abstain. So if we have a look at the results so far, about 79% of people are voting to to enable ETH-only validators and to remove the rewards cliff. Around 12% actually are against both variants, and most of that is coming from Ramana's vote power of 1,300 votes, and that option that's around 1,400 votes. And then we have some people voting to enable ETH-only validators, but also keeping the RPL rewards cliff the way it is right now. Interestingly, one of the major people who has not voted is Patches, and Patches' reason for Patches not voting, he explains in his post on the forum here, saying the vote is live and I will be voting strategically. I intend to withhold my power and use it to push through whichever of 4A or 4B is leading at the time of the vote period. End of the vote period. I would like to vote for the changes while abstaining from the decision on whether to keep the cliff, as I previously stated that I would not support such a decision, but neither do I wish to block it. It says, I encourage my delegators who wish to express a preference to override me preemptively. And then here, Pateris explained his vote as well, saying voting in favour and for removing the cliff. This will keep Rocket Pool in the race when Lido Community Staking module launches soon. There'll be no cliff in Saturn, so it makes sense not to have one already now. This wrongs node operators have always dutifully topped up, but there's no way to make everyone happy, so this is like ripping off the band-aid. I believe this will attract more node operators and TVL in the future. So that was interesting rationale from Patches and also from Pateris. But yeah, so Patches hasn't voted yet. If Patches had voted on this, it likely would have already been at quorum or very close to quorum, as we are 14% away, and Patches has just a little bit less than that in terms of vote power, I think, or somewhere thereabouts. Now, when it comes to RPIP 63, that has, like I said, already reached quorum, and I think this one's a little bit of a more straightforward vote, but also a more complicated vote. So let's figure out why that is. So here, the Houston hotfix RPIP 63, the rationale is that this resolves post-Houston launch bugs, so it opens up roadmap options and strengthens security around the on-chain voting system based on bug bounty feedback. The hotfix will support enabling protocol DAO voting going forward. So it says outcome is positive. This will be deployed to Houston hotfix and the Oracle DAO to facilitate the protocol upgrade. The outcome, if it's negative, the Houston hotfix will not be approved at this time. And the authors will engage with the community to understand why that was, and not approved. Another vote will be raised at a later time. And in the context here, it's primarily a bug fix, but upgrade to include two components that open up potential roadmap options. Although further votes are required to actually deliver the roadmap options, for example, RPIP 62, these components make the options technically possible in the near term. And then there's information about, what are the bug fixes. So there's fixing legacy mini pool finalization, on-chain voting, prevent abuse of proposals to exit RPL stake, on-chain voting, prevent attacks that allow proposals' bond to be stolen, and reduce the guardrail on on-chain voting quorum. The exact number is up for discussion still. And the items that don't require bug fixes. So here we have allowed the minimum per mini pool RPL stake to go to 0 without causing rewards elsewhere. While this is a bug fix, it's only needed to enable something similar to RPIP 62, and then use ETH for the scrub check penalty instead of RPL. This is primarily needed to enable something similar to RPIP 62. So here, this vote, I voted in favor of this. So I said I vote for this, and a lot of other people voted for this as well. we had me voting for it, saying I'm not happy with the APIP process for this vote, but it's necessary to patch bugs and get things ready for APIP 62, so let's go. The issue was that the team had already decided on what needed to go into the fixes, and they already started working on it before they came to the community, and the order was all wrong. So here Ramana says, I agree with parts of the APIP, but I don't agree with this being a big bundle. Abstain for now and we'll reconsider if it's failing. So then what Ramana here is saying, and he abstained, is saying that what we should have is separate votes. So one vote for the hotfix and another vote for the smoothing the way for APIP 62. Noshua here actually said that they're voting against this, saying see post 15 in the APIP 63 forum thread for my reasons for voting against it, and they were similar to those reasons that I mentioned. Halulu here voted in favor, saying I'm not happy with the governance process, but voting as moving forward with this will be important for the protocol. And then other people said similar things, like voting in favor this time, but make sure there's no bundled votes. Scuzzle actually voted against it, saying this RPIP is poor governance practice for reasons others have already mentioned. So there was a lot of people, even though they were voting in favor for it, saying, hey, this isn't the way that we should do things going forward, so let's not do things this way going forward. And of course, Patches here has voted for this, voted in favor for it, so he was only kind of temporarily abstaining from voting for RPIP 62. One person whose vote I've not seen so far, who I'm looking forward to seeing, is Val. And of course, Val's vote will be very close to getting us over the quorum for RPIP 62 as well. But hey, getting quorum on day 2 of the vote is actually pretty great. So that's totally fine. So with that happening, I went into kind of marketing mode of RPIP 62. So I put out this ETH Finance post yesterday saying that, we've got huge news from the Rocket Pool community. The roadmap for Rocket Pool is Saturn 1 and Saturn 2. However, in order to maximize, aspects of Saturn in terms of value capture, etc., you need a big TVL, and now we are trying to grow the TVL, and to do that we've got Saturn 0 coming through. This will allow people to stake with Rocket Pool using ETH only. And then the second one is the removal of the 10% cliff for RPL rewards. So the idea for this is twofold. One, you attract new node operators who want to stake with ETH only, and two, you keep the node operators you already have by giving them rewards that they started to lose because RPL went down below 10%. And then I was saying, why would you do this? Because you'd get really nice rewards, and being a Rocket Pool node operator with this system, you would get 1.3 times solo staking rewards, which is pretty cool. I said that because this is just parameter changes, after RPIP 63 passes, it'll be really easy to get everything ready for RPIP 62. And for that reason, we're targeting it to go live on October 24th, which will then give us the 4 weeks to get version 10 of the rewards tree ready and out before the following snapshot. So people actually asked a lot of questions, they're making comments. This was a top dooted post on ETH Finance yesterday, which is actually really nice. And like I said, there were a lot of comments, and people actually making really good comments here. Ad Astra the other day was being kind of negative about Rocket Pool, but actually turned around and said things are looking they're progressing. That's nice. And saying that Ad Astra went on to say that I'm going to come back to Rocket Pool, but it'll be over the course of a few months in order to let the contracts be battle tested. Is having a bunch of RPL and validators running through Saturn upgrades is risky enough. So I said that's the beauty of Saturn 0. There's actually no smart contract changes. It's all going to be happening because of parameter changes, which is quite exciting. And then there were other comments that you can read here as well. But that was a very well received post on ETH Finance. On Twitter, I put out a post kind of going over the same sentiments and same ideas, and this was actually extremely popular. It's one of my most popular tweets ever, and this got 151 likes, and it had 44 retweets and a bunch of comments as well. And it actually sparked a nice discussion with some people in my replies, asking clarifying questions, etc. But also some people retweeted and there were some other questions happening in other places as well. So this is actually pretty awesome. I think that Rocket Pool is doing some really cool stuff, and I think that this is going to be really, really amazing to see. So yeah, good stuff. Okay, moving on to some other news now, and here we had a question that came up in trading yesterday about marketing Rocket Pool and like rebranding it potentially. So there's this idea that, if protocols go through something bad, you can rebrand it, jazzify it, make it new, and then, customers that got burned in the past will be willing to come back. So Mountain B here says the hypothesis is that people who left will come back. Rocket Pool's brand value has been damaged. You don't fix that by patching the wound. To really fix this type of damage, you need a rebrand away from an orange Comic Sans type rocket to something new. At least people know a serious change in direction is there. I said, and then go on to say, you cannot possibly expect people to return to a rocket that crashed with them aboard. So that actually started an interesting discussion about what it means to have Rocket Pool's name out there. What's really interesting, of course, is that Rocket Pool, as it stands, is one of the best reputed protocols in the Ethereum ecosystem. People absolutely love Rocket Pool, the idea of Rocket Pool, what they're trying to do, the community alignment, all of those great things. The thing that people didn't like about Rocket Pool really obviously was the RPL token and the price of the RPL token and being forced to buy the RPL token in order to stay with Rocket Pool. So I think that, this is enough to get people, to reconsider Rocket Pool and maybe come back to Rocket Pool, just like Ad Astra, who wound down a whole lot of validators to try to keep getting rewards. They're saying now that they're going to come back, and there's a lot of anecdotal evidence of people saying that they were either waiting for there to be a no RPL requirement before they started staking Rocket Pool, or they were waiting for the they were waiting to come back, and now they're thinking of coming back, because the conditions will be more favorable for them. And then Jasper says if they join without RPL, that's fine. It will just be benefiting and enticing more people to stake RPL. So the idea, of course, is that the more people who join with ETH, only they'll get their rewards, but then a fraction of their rewards, a decent fraction of their rewards, will go to people who hold RPL, and everybody can win. So yeah, we want people to come back, and hopefully they will come back, but hopefully we won't require a rebrand, because we'll be losing a lot of the community sentiment and goodwill that we've built up in some ways. And that's a tough balance to face, but I don't think there's any serious discussion going on around a rebrand. If you just look at the Rocket Pool website, it took like a year to make it. Basically, having a rebrand would be even longer than that. So I don't think it's really on the cards right now. And then Jasper kind of asked some questions about Ethereum staking and reputation, and was asking questions about Rocket Pool. So he says a series of polls about Rocket Pool staking and reputation. Says who has the best reputation in staking, and 73% of the respondents said Rocket Pool. And this, of course, is Jasper's audience is very much a Rocket Pool aligned audience. And this is what LST LRT do you trust the most? Then RETH was 81%. How has your view of Rocket Pool changed in the last year? Most people said neutral, but some people said worse and some people said better. It said, how has your opinion of RETH changed over the last year? Some people said better. A small number of people said better. A small number of people said worse. The majority of people said neutral. The vast majority, 78%. And then Jasper said, if you are a Rocket Pool node operator and RPIP 62 passes, enabling ETH only validators, what will you do? And 73% of people said add more validators. 7% of people said exit validators, and others were not validators. Said if you're a Rocket Pool node operator and RPIP 62 passes, enabling ETH only mini pools, will you unstake RPL, stake more RPL, or neither? And then Jasper says if you're not a Rocket Pool node operator and RPIP 62 passes enabling you to stake with ETH and no RPL, what will you join? And people said that they will either stake immediately or wait a month, and some people said no, they won't join. And then Jasper said, if Rocket Pool enabled ETH only staking, removing the RPL requirement, would you stay one or increase stake? And 67% of people said that. Become a node operator, 23% of people said that. And then Jasper said, what has been the most harmful to the reputation of Rocket Pool? And the vast majority of people here, 80%, said tokenomics. And then he says, what has been the most beneficial to the reputation of the Rocket Pool? And I would say the ODAO and the PDAO, the community as a whole. But the dev team here, 50% of people chose that, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, this is quite interesting results here from a small sample size, but it seems like people want Rocket Pool to make these changes. Okay, so in the Rocket Pool community, you often get comments from people or groups that kind of seems kind of scammy, and not much usually comes from it, but for a while there, these kind of comments died. So here, this new member in the Rocket Pool Discord said, "Hi there, I'm the Smith, part of Shapeshift DAO's marketing workstream. Would love to chat with you guys about marketing and more. Is there a proper channel to deal with business development, or is it better to post on the forum? Cheers from Foxland." So that's really interesting because we're starting to get interest coming back into Rocket Pool. However, yesterday it happened a lot. Like a little while later, we had this poll from Raul. He says, "Hi, I'm Raul from EMCD, an ecosystem for miners and crypto users. We're interested in exploring listing partnerships and collaboration opportunities. Would you kindly direct us to the right person to discuss this further? Thank you." So this, and then again here, this was on governance thread as well. So this was from Barcona saying, "Dear Rocket Pool team, I'm reaching out on behalf of my DAO, Marshall Islands DAO LLC, to explore partnership that would help Rocket Pool navigate regulatory challenges while maintaining decentralized governance." So this is not to focus on any of these particular people. I have no idea who they are or what they're trying to do, but one thing to notice is that we're actually getting attention again, in a sense, and that is actually pretty cool. Hopefully this is the starting seeds of some really good things coming up ahead. Okay, so it was Sunday this week, and there was the last Sunday of October, so that is when the GMC put out our results. And Schifrin here says the GMC has concluded discussions and scoring for round 16, so that's from August 7th to September 7th, and the grants bounties retroactive awards round. Then it says this post begins the 14-day clock, during which, according to RPIP 15, anyone may file an RPIP disputing a grant bounty or retrospective awards within 2 weeks of the announcement of the recipients, and such an RPIP shall be subject to a snapshot vote. So general updates here, we had some information, Rocket Lend, and then that was that grant being pulled back, suspended. And then with Operation RETH, this is a new way of helping to promote RETH. You're going to be hearing a lot more about this in the coming days and weeks. And then there's a GMC Year 3. So in October, the process for electing a new GMC roster will begin. I really expect a whole bunch of you guys who are listening to put your names forward for this and said this is what the expected schedule will look like. So in 2 weeks' time, on October 15th, we're going to have nominations that will last 7 days. After that, nominees will be asked to provide nominee statements. That will last 3 days. That's from October 22nd to October 27th. Then snapshot voting will take place. That will happen from October 28th to November 11th, over 14 days. And then the new GMC roster will be put forward on November the 11th of 2024. So the new members get on board into GMC. There'll be an intro call with members, current members, and any available old members to share advice and experiences. So I am currently thinking of running for the GMC again. In fact, I think I'm pretty certain that I will put my name forward for that. There are other members of the GMC who will also run again, so that is going to be really awesome to see. But I think there's going to be a lot of space for new members with some existing members stepping down. So definitely think about doing that. Of course, there's a stipend. So here we have the list of the current members. And then we have the application breakdown. So there was 4 grant applications and 1 retro application. And here we have the awards. So the first one is Sifrin, and this is education costs and marketing. And the GMC approved this for $150,000. However, the average score was a little bit low at 3.29. Alpha Growth, this is a growth program with business development and other issues like that. And that was approved at $60,000. And then Taiti had a dashboard that was approved for $5,000. Blockworks was declined, and Curia was also declined. And then if you have a look at the rewards details, here the GMC gives more information about why this was approved and what the pay structure will look like. and what's going to happen after that. So you can read about why the Cypherin grant was approved. This is, I think, is the biggest single grant the GMC has ever approved, so that's pretty cool. And then with Alpha Growth here, we have information on why this was approved as well, and how much we're going to be paying them. And then there's reasons why we approved or declined the others, so you can have a look at that. And then we have all members participated in the final votes. So during the amendment stage, the Cypherin application was overturned from a defer to an approve with 6 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 1 abstain vote. And I actually was left a comment saying that I'm going to think about this, and then I never went back and voted on that. So that was the one vote that was missing during the final participation round there. But I took part in everything else. And then it says, Shifrin says, the GMC is eager to see the results of these partnerships in support of the Saturn upgrade and the future growth of Rocket Pool. Look out for the GMC's monthly public town hall, which should take place in a couple of weeks, and you can join the GMC server. And then Shifrin said there were concerns about timing raised within Rocket Pool Discord. So for Cypherin, they're going to have a DeFi course which is going to feature our ETH, and that is expected to launch in November, with NodeSet ideally going live first, and an infrastructure course that will tentatively be scheduled around March 2025. And Cypherin is fully aware of the Saturn upgrades and overhauling the node operator process, and they have assured us they are committed to upgrading the content around this. And then with Alpha Growth, that is expected to start work in mid-October after the challenge period ends, and they are trying to get aligned with anticipated NodeSet and ETH-only validator launches. And yeah, this was actually a really interesting process. There was, I think there have been some rumblings about the size of the grant, so I'm looking to see if that goes anywhere. But at the moment, that looks pretty good. Okay, we've got some client updates, and here we have the first one from Nimbus, and this is a low urgency release which has API improvements and stability fixes. This is version 24.9.0, and we also have a Geth update. This is 1.14.1, and this is a minor release from Geth, and they're saying with the primary goal of publishing new, stable, and latest Docker images. So both of these are, I guess, upgrade if you want to kind of upgrades, but they're there if you want them. Okay, let's move on to some staking news now. And the first piece of news is here from ETHStaker, and ETHStaker saying, calling all home stakers, we're looking to investigate if stakers would be concerned about increasing network bandwidth. Please help by filling out a quick survey. And it said that you need a staking community POAP in order to be able to take part in this survey. So if we have a look, there's got some eligible POAPs, and let's actually have a look at the survey. So if you click on the survey, it's gated and it requires you to have the POAPs. And I've already signed in here, so it's just taking me straight to the form. And here they ask things like, do you run your node from home? If no partial, like why don't you? Do you track your node bandwidth? What do you use to track your bandwidth with? Would you increase bandwidth usage? Would increased bandwidth usage have adverse effect on your ability to run node from home? What are your internet upload speeds, download speeds, and do you have an overall data ceiling cap? So I've already submitted this, so I'm not going to do it again with you guys. But the reason why this came up is based on a discussion that came up last week from Max Resnick and also other staking people in the staking ecosystem, where things got a bit heated, and it kind of spurned out of the all core devs call from last week. So this was the ETHStaker's response to kind of get this survey out and try to gather information on just how many people, how they feel about their bandwidth and other things like that about their staking. So look out for the results of that in the coming days and weeks, but that's definitely an interesting one. Okay, NodeSet here have an update, and they are going to give a POAP for people who are beta testers for Constellation. And here we have the POAP. This is what it looks like. It's kind of like an astronaut with orange. It says Constellation beta tester with the NodeSet logo there, NodeSet Hyperdrive, and that is from September 2024 to October 2024. So you can get that POAP. And yeah, people here in NodeSet now are setting up their their testnets and their validators to make sure everything is running well, with the idea that, Constellation could be launching in a couple of weeks' time. So that is going to be extremely exciting. And I haven't heard anything so far about whether it's going to be potentially delayed from that date or not. I don't have any insider information, of course, but the last time I heard that the NodeSet team were just waiting on one more audit to finish and complete and get everything done with that, and then they will be finalizing their test suite, and that'll be ready to launch a Constellation with the Gravitar guys. So this is really, really exciting. Okay, something that's not exciting in the staking ecosystem is Swell. So Swell is a LRT, and it was started as the LST and then pivoted to an LRT, and that's liquid restaking token. So what they do is you deposit your ETH with them, and they will then take that ETH and set the withdrawal address as Eigen layer, and then they will get Eigen layer, restaking rewards. So it's an LRT, so that has that built on top of it. And people farmed Swell with the idea that they'll put their money into Swell. Swell will then put it into Eigen layer. A lot of people will come to Swell. Swell will launch a token, and they'll get points, which has been ongoing. And then with those points, they'll get a token, and the token will be worth something. So a whole lot of people are airdrop farming Swell. I am personally airdrop farming Swell. So Swell have an update here saying that the launch of the Swell token is no longer expected to occur in September. We have a number of exchanges lined up, but we're still finalizing key details. Please note that the delay is not due to attempts to time the market, but rather to ensure that the token launch is adequately supported by the availability of top trading venues. This is, we hear your concerns about the delay, and they've made the changes accordingly, and then they've got like loyalty bonus, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, this token generation event from Swell has been delayed for the last 4 months or 5 months. I think it should have come a long time ago, and they've just been pushing it further and further back, and they've actually started losing TVL of people just getting bored with waiting for them and just giving up. In the meantime, if you are chosen to go with EtherFi instead, they've actually had 3 seasons of airdrops now, and I think they're probably getting close to the limit of how many airdrops they're going to have. So it might be interesting to see how their TVL holds up in the coming days. But I think the mistake that I made was going with Swell over EtherFi, because if I'd gone with EtherFi, I would have been in a much better position financially, but that's okay. Okay, let's move on to some Ethereum news now. And the first piece of Ethereum news is this blog post by Vitalik, and this is titled "Making Ethereum Alignment Legible." So there's this idea in Ethereum, right, that to be Ethereum aligned, you need to hold all these different values, and these are credible neutrality, I think, being the main thing of all of them. And then under that, you get things like censorship resistance, open source software, decentralized software, software accessible to everyone. All of these kind of things have kind of created an image of being Ethereum aligned. And Vitalik here says, one of the most important social challenges in the Ethereum ecosystem is balancing, or more accurately, integrating decentralization and cooperation. The ecosystem strength is that wide array of people and organizations, such as client teams, researchers, layer 2 teams, application developers, local community groups, all building towards their own vision of what Ethereum can be. Of course, it's permissionless, right? This is me saying that on Vitalik. It's permissionless, so anyone can build whatever they want. And then Vitalik goes on to say the primary challenge is making sure that these projects are collectively building something that feels like one Ethereum ecosystem and not 138 incompatible fiefdoms. It says the softest challenge many people throughout the Ethereum ecosystem have brought up the concept of Ethereum alignment. This includes values alignment, e.g. being open source, minimize centralization, support public goods, technological alignment, work with ecosystem-wide standards, and economic alignment, use ETH as a token where possible. However, the concept has historically been poorly defined, and this creates a risk of social layer capture. So if alignment means having the right friends, then alignment as a concept has failed. So it says to solve this, I will argue that the concept of alignment should be made more legible and decomposed into specific properties which can be represented by specific metrics. Each person's list will be different, and metrics will inevitably change over time. However, I think we already have some solid starting points. So he says open source, open standards, decentralization and security, being positive sum towards Ethereum and positive sums towards a broader world. And then obviously he says not all of the above is applicable to each project. And then he says, my goal is to see more entities like L2B emerging to track how well individual projects are meeting the above criteria and the other criteria that community comes up with. And one of the things that's been said in the Rocket Pool community, I think it was Jasper who said it first, was there would be absolutely amazing to have something like L2B tracking LSTs and LRTs and kind of comparing what the benefits and costs are each of those, and having different stages for how good these are and how much they're aligned with these Ethereum values, for example, and that would be like stage 0 for something that's completely centralized, like an exchange LST like CB ETH. Then you might have something like stage 1 and then stage 2, which I hope would be something like RETH, showing that it's maximally decentralized and maximally aligned with Ethereum values. So here, Vitalik kind of shares this. So if you want, you can read the whole article. And there's some really interesting information there. Vitalik got a response quite quickly from Alex G, who works with ZK Sync, the founder of ZK Sync, saying Vitalik's intuitive explanation of decentralized security of rollups should have defined the L2 beat stages. So this is stage 1, the walkaway test. If a core team and servers disappear tomorrow, the system remains safe and usable. And then stage 2, the insider attack test. If affiliated teams themselves try to attack the system, it won't break. So this just makes things more legible and easier to understand about how these rollups would work and what the different stages are. And this is from the point of view, Arb and Optimism have reached stage 1 only recently with permissionless forward proofs, while ZK Sync should be classified as stage 1 today. And here, Dono from L2B team says, we feel like ZK Sync is arguably very close to ZK1 with the recent introduction of governance, but also there's space for small, low-hanging fruit improvements. So yeah, it looks like ZK Sync is going to get to that level, stage 1 designation quite soon, which of course is exciting to see. Okay, next we have news from Eigenlayer, and this is the biggest news of the day, I guess, because the token launched overnight, and this is something that people have been farming for a very, very long time. I think over a year, maybe a year and a half even at this point. I know that I've been farming it for a long time. So here, Mikio says, don't miss the Eigen Unlock community spaces event starting in 5 minutes. So this was yesterday afternoon, and then the token launched at midnight Eastern time. And then we saw that it started trading, and the trading's actually not fallen off a cliff like some people would have expected, I think. It started at around $4. Let's see. It started at around $4 and then went down to around $3.90, went up to $4.60, which is decent, then went down to $3.70, and now it's back up at around $4.20 in that kind of range. So, it hasn't collapsed yet. That is not, of course, to say that it won't collapse in the coming days. I have been given an Eigen airdrop through farming. I got some tokens, and I was also given the community airdrop for talking about Eigenlayer with no strings attached. Whether that's positive or negative, I guess it didn't make a difference. But I was given the airdrop for that as well. So I haven't actually sold any of my airdrops yet, but I will likely sell my airdrop if the price goes up, in the near term, or likely will become a holder for the longer term if the price doesn't really trend much now, but, in anticipation of it performing well in the bull market. Okay, and with Eigenlayer, of course, with it being so successful, their competitors have started coming up now, and here we see Hive DA. So Hive DA is a gigabyte throughput data availability layer that's secured by Symbiotic, and Symbiotic, of course, is the rival to Eigenlayer, and they're saying that historically DA solutions have tried to choose between performance and decentralization, drastically limiting DApp potential as a result. And then they said that changes today. So of course, they're going to go on and explain how their system is totally permissionless and decentralized and all that good stuff. You need to dig into the details of it to see how that looks. But they're kind of comparing themselves to Eigenlayer, who are going to start with 15 megabyte throughput, and Celestia, which has 0.13 megabyte per second throughput. And these guys are saying they're going to have 1,000 megabytes per second throughput, which is an absolutely obscene amount of data. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that works out. But yeah, if you are farming Symbiotic, or if you are interested in high throughput data availability, then I guess check out Hive and see what you think about it. Okay, we got a landmark milestone with the iShares Ethereum ETF, and this is the BlackRock fund. And here, Nate Grassi shares that in 2 months they hit over $1 billion of funds, and that is like a really big landmark because it puts it in the top 20% of all 3,700 ETFs that exist in the US financial market system. So that is actually quite amazing. But if we have a look at the overall flows, last week had some really good days. We had a day of like 62 million inflows, 43 million inflows, 58 million inflows, and then last night on Monday was actually quite flat. BlackRock did get inflows of 11 million, but ETH from Grayscale had outflow of 11.8 million, so we ended up the day negative, very slightly negative, but hopefully we'll have another good week of positive flows for the ETF coming in. Millie here shared an idea of a new truth oracle and kind of shared the ideas. So he said, the truth oracle is a decentralized source of truth that verifies subjective real-world information on chain, enables the provision of truth to applications in a way that were previously unviable. If that sounds interesting, you love this thread. So it says, let's break it down. So it says, the oracle utilizes the power of intersubjective truth to resolve disputes with strong yet practical guarantees. It's the first optimistic oracle that can scale to meet the demands of micro applications. It can be used to optimistically verify virtually any off-chain data. So this is actually a demand that people have been making, that we need better versions of these truth oracles to come on chain and to have those Ethereum values that Vitalik was mentioning earlier. And Millie here has been working on it. So he says, if you're interested in provable details, I recommend reading the white paper. But for a high-level understanding of the protocol, this thread should build the necessary intuition. Let's dive in. So it says, the current standards of optimistic oracles, most modern designs reduced down to token voting and economic security. Resolutions were determined based on the outcomes with greatest economic weight behind it. It says, typically claims are optimistically considered valid unless otherwise disputed within the challenge window. When the dispute is filed, token holders have the first and last say. When voting ends, the option with the most economic support is set as the final result. And then there's a description of the process. So this is naive dispute resolution schemes work in preventing scam and griefing attacks because when outcomes are objectively verifiable, the narrow subjectivity of single-step arbitration doesn't cause too many problems, but that design falls apart the moment outcomes are ambiguous. So here's kind of what they're going to. So go ahead and check out the thread. There's some technical detail in there, but I think it's an interesting idea. So I thought I'd bring that to your all's attention. And they're going to have a token as well, and all sorts of things like that. So there's a lot of information here, but you can definitely go and read all of that if you're interested. Okay, next we have this interesting proof of concept that was developed on Base Sepolia, and this is a way to have under collateralized loans. So right now, when you take a crypto loan, normally the way it works is through something called CDP positions. So Maker uses something like that. You also have things like Liquidity, Graviton, others using things like this as well. The way it works is like you will put forward, for example, $10,000 of ETH or RETH, hopefully, and against that you will borrow like $2,000 or $3,000 of a stable coin, and then you can go and spend that or use it in DeFi or whatever you want to do. And then when you repay that loan, then you get your ETH back. Of course, if the price of ETH goes down a lot during that time, then you can get liquidated, and there's a lot of interesting dynamics at place. But these are called over collateralized loans, and they're the only kind of loans you can do trustlessly and permissionlessly on chain so far. However, there's this idea going around that you could actually use different on-chain metrics and systems to do under-collateralized loans. And Jesse here says, one of the things I'd like to see on Base is credit plus under-collateralized lending built on the fast-growing suite of identity primitives like base names, talent protocol, and Farcaster. It says this is a essential primitive we need. So here then these guys kind of like hacked at it and kind of had a little idea of what it might look like. So it might, for example, analyze someone's crypto transactions, their previous balances, their safe wallet signatures, counting contracts deployed. Then they could verify like your base name, your ENS, you're verifying your Coinbase attestations, checking your like hackathons, what GitHubs you've taken part of, analyzing your Filecaster activity, your Lens activity, checking your Gitcoin, whether you received or given money before, and all of these things would potentially come together, for example, and create a full image of you as a person on chain, and then can give you a loan against that. So this, like, I think this idea is going to work, and I think that it's going to be quite interesting how it's all going to come together. But this is in the early stages. There's also called Wildcat Protocol, which is being developed by Lawrence, who you might know on Twitter as Function Zero. I'm not sure of the full dynamics of how that's working, but they are doing under-collateralized loans. I don't know if there's an in real life element to that or not, but that's definitely one to keep an eye on as well. And I think they're undergoing audits right now. So they even have a community audit if you want to join one of those like challenge audits. Okay, next we got some positive news coming out of the Pertsev and Storm cases. So this is about Roman Storm, who is about to face trial in the US and needs money. So there was an announcement made that someone donated 99.5 ETH to this fund, and that is actually really great to see because they're short on money and they need money in order to get to pay for legal costs, I think, which are going to be in the region of like $2 million. So there's money coming in. However, there are other people in the crypto communities wider who are kind of shouting at the wider community saying, why haven't you donated towards this? There's protocols with big war chests and a big amounts of money that are waiting, and they haven't donated anything to this yet, and that they really should be doing this. But this is positive that someone donated nearly 100 ETH to this, so that's pretty awesome. Okay, moving on to some other news now. We see that the SPY, which is the stock market, hit an all-time high at close yesterday, and I'm saying what a dip, we survived it, the poor bears. Now we're heading to 6,000, ha ha ha. So as you can see from the chart, it looks like the candles were looking quite strong, but it's really funny because they kind of said that the green candles, when people get really excited, that's very closely followed by a red candle. And this post was from yesterday afternoon after the markets closed, and if you actually have a look at SPY, it's actually down today. So after hitting those highs, it's gone down today, and part of the reason for why it's gone down is because of threat of war in the Middle East, but also because of a strike coming up from the shipping unions in the US. So that is part of the reason why there's been some impact on that. Okay, and this is a little bit of technical analysis stuff. People kind of seeing fractals, and here people are saying that 80% of Octobers, in the crypto's history have been green, and this is going back to 2013, and they on average go up by 22%, and yeah, 80% of crypto's green. However, 100% of election years have had green October, November, and December's. So these people are saying that they get ready for a very positive end to the year, Q4, and let's have a look. So the Q4 has started today, and let's have a look at RPL, because of course this is a Rocket Pool channel. So RPL is down 11%. so you can take that however you want. With the markets, of course, the crypto markets have responded strongly, like a few hours ago, to Iran launching missiles towards Israel, and also the news that the talks between the unions in the US and paid the people who they want to pay them have kind of broken down, and it looks like they're going on strike. So that, of course, is not looking good. But yeah, Uptober, historically is supposed to be really good, but today it's not started off so well yet. But let's find out what the rest of the month brings, especially considering that the beginning of September we actually took a big hit with the Japan carry trade stuff. It feels like so long ago now, but we ended up the month green, so that's actually really positive. So let's see what the rest of the month brings, less of the quarter brings. Okay, and one thing that might help the year-end green is this news from Watcher Guru saying that the Fed's Bostic says that he's open to another 50%, sorry, not 50%, 50 basis point interest rate cut in November. So this would, of course, bring the cuts down to 1 full% of rates, and then potentially being another cut in December as well of 1/4%, but maybe again another 0.5%. So if we get that, then the idea is, you have to think, will these rates cut spook the market? Will they think that the Fed is doing this in response to some bad data? We're going to get the unemployment data this week on Friday, and that's going to really let you know what the Fed are seeing and what they're trying to do. But normally, if we get interest rate cuts and the market still looks okay and the Fed is signaling positive sentiment, then we could be setting the stage for a very, very strong beginning of 2025. And finally, we had news that CZ was released from prison. So a few days ago, he put out a post saying GM and nothing else. And then he put out a longer post a day later saying the food tastes so good. What luxury to be able to have more than one piece of fruit a day. And he says, I have some questions, but I'm going to chill for a bit. He says, I'm going to thank people for their support. He says Giggle Academy is what he wants to work on for the next few years of his life. So this is an online education platform that's supposed to be free for kids in developing countries and around the world. He says he's going to continue to invest in blockchain, but he's also taking a back seat from Binance. He's not going to be involved in that basically. And he says it seems to be doing well without me as a backseat driver. And then he says he's working on a book, of which 2/3 is written already, and he wants to do more charity and funding work. So let's see how that impacts things and what CZ does going forwards. But that is the end of today's Rocket Fuel episode. I'm sorry that I missed the episode yesterday. I just ran out of time to record, but here today you got another mega episode. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all had a lovely weekend, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.